Oh, nice.
Right. We're pretty stable now. Not full capacity, but. Really stable. A bit. A little bit improved. But everything is up. You're okay? Called to order. The governing board meeting was called to order at 5 p.m. Well, actually, we're gonna have Mr. Magmu lead us in a flag salute today.
Ready, begin. To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Magmu. Roll call, let the record reflect that all members of the governing board and administration are present. Approval of agenda, it's recommended that the governing board approve the agenda of November 14th, 2022, governing board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Michelle.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Chung. Any discussion?
No.
With no discussion, we'll move the item to be approved. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Approval of minutes, approval of October 10th, 2022, meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Chung.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll move to approve the item. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Governing board comments. Start with Mr. Chung.
Yeah, happy belated Veterans Day to everyone, all veterans. We appreciate that, them and what just passed, and an early happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I know we're all looking forward to that end of this week. I was able to attend the Teacher of the Year, Orange County Teacher of the Year last week, and we got to honor Miss Danielle Fuson, which was great to see. Just her energy. It was always electric and just heartwarming, and so really well deserved. And she represented our district very well. I was looking at our Friday report, and I wanted to point out a few things. I read about the STEM Bots tournament was well received, and I know that our SOARS program is going well. So a little shout out to Director Huang and the efforts it takes to keep that running and keeping kids engaged. After kids have been in school for 7 hours, to do extra expanded day, it's a challenge. I know, I feel her. So I feel the pain and the joy that goes with it. I also was glad to read that we were well represented with the leadership at the AXA conference. I heard that we had Director Simonovsky, Principal Leota, and Principal Ortega presenting on SARB, or model SARB, and they got awarded for that, as well as supporting how you support struggling students. So a shout out to those three who represented us in basically a national conference almost. It's a big conference for all leaders. So again, showing our leadership through presenting our leadership through example. So I appreciate our leaders taking the time and effort to do that. I also want to highlight, read there about the Super Saturday Gate event that happened last week. I saw some of the topics, and I love STEM. I love the ideas of what they do and connect it to real life or curriculum and content. So I thought I saw that in there, and it was really good to see it going strong. I attended a couple of years ago, and that was amazing. So I'm glad we were able to bring that back and continue to do that in person. That was great. I'm looking forward to the CSBA conference. It's coming up next week. It continues to give us a time to talk and set direction of where we're going. So I look forward to having that happen. I want to shout out to our president Frutos. This is his last meeting as he passes the torch on. So I know next week we'll say some goodbyes, but good luck on your last meeting today. And I think it's also coming up tomorrow, Trustee Ahmad's birthday. So I know the Emory staff is here. It is her birthday. So happy early birthday to Trustee Ahmad. And lastly, I am super excited. I thought I saw Superman and Superwomen out there, but it's actually Emory. So they are all Supermen and Superwomen and super children. So I'm really excited to hear the report that's Emory today. So welcome. And I know it's gonna be amazing to hear what all the great things that go on at that community. So that's my report for today.
Thank you, Mr. Chong. Samad.
Thank you. Since our meetings turned into once a month, I feel like there's a lot going on and a lot to talk about, so I hope you guys don't fall asleep. So first of all, I want to start by welcoming the Emory staff and families. It's so great to see you. It's the first time seeing you after the pandemic live in person, so it's great always to have these school reports. I'm really excited to hear about everything that's happening because I could see it firsthand, so that's always amazing. We had a lot of events this month. Started out with the AXA dinner, which I know that President Frutos will talk about later. It was a great theme. It was about gratitude. So I really enjoyed that. I was really happy to see all our schools participate in Red Ribbon Week this past month. It was just great how creative every school was getting, just showing their Red Ribbon Week pride. And I'm so glad that we get to do that for the students in our district. I was able to visit Gilbert Elementary, and I wanted to thank Principal Chavez for the tour. It was a really interesting tour. We were looking at grade 4 CGI, and it was very eye-opening. So thank you, Principal Chavez, for that. I was invited to Miss Huerta's class at Whitaker to see her students. They did the pumpkin. I'm sure you've seen it online, where they have to make the pumpkin as a character, as one of the books they've read, and they were just so creative. It was so amazing to see, and each student explained to me exactly what the character did in the book. So that was so awesome to see, and they were just so proud of their work. Even their penmanship was so good because they had to write a little blurb about it. It was just, I was just blown away. And they showed me their counting collections, which they were super proud of. That I don't know how much, like 30 pounds of beans or something. But it was just great to be in that classroom, and you could see all the hard work that's been put in there. So I want to thank Ms. Huerta and Principal Williamson for that tour. I was then able to visit Pendleton Elementary School, which, I was just blown away. The things that are happening in the classrooms at Pendleton are just amazing. I want to thank the staff there. I want to thank Principal Leota for the tour. Just seeing all the hard work that's happening and the staff there working with the kids. It was just great to see. I also attended Trunk or Treat at Emory, which is a great tradition at our school, and it's just always so fun. And I want to give a shout out to the Eagles and to all the staff that participated and made it a great event, like always. That's always a fun one every year. Just so many exciting things happening. The STEMbots robotics class after school was great. And I'm just so proud to tell all the people that I know, like, that our district offers those things, and, it's all free of charge, and the kids just have a blast. And so we were invited to go and see them actually do a competition, and just the looks on the kids' faces that day was just, they were having so much fun, and it was really well done. And I want to thank them for putting that together. We have the superintendent soccer tournament coming up and I'm seeing the kids practice every day. And that's just, I think that's something really new that we haven't done anything like that, with sports after school. So I'd like to see a lot more of that at our elementary school. So it's really cool that we are able to do that. And like, what Trustee Chung said, Super Saturday was really fun. The kids got to check in, they got this backpack. It was really fun, they just had a blast and came home with so many different things that they learned about. And, that's another great event that I remember doing years and years ago with my older kids, and I'm so glad to see it still happening. I'd like to end with, it's on our agenda. I know we didn't vote on it yet, but I want to thank the Education Foundation for their donations. They were able to donate money towards our superintendent soccer tournament, to Kinder Kindness, and to the STEM Bots program. So I want to give a huge thank you because, that's all they do. They're here just to support our students and our schools. So they don't get thanked enough. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to do that. That's it for me.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you. I was, well, I'm happy to see Emery here tonight. Let me say that first, because that's, as you said, it's been a while since we've seen you. So we're glad you're in the house. And we're looking forward to your report today. I had surgery this month in October, so I didn't really do a lot, but I did attend the AXA School Board Association joint dinner, and I truly enjoyed the topic on gratitude. And they talked about how it improved not only your emotional health, but your mental, physical health and learning, which was what was so most important. Because we have to look at the whole child, right? And one thing I walked away with, they were saying, if you have something corrective to say, make sure you say 5 positive things also, so that they know that you value the individual and not just that you're looking at a mistake that they've made. And this is a way to boost children's morale. And I mean, it works on adults too, not just kids. I did go to the Buena Park music group. The band was performing at the homecoming for Buena Park High School. And they joined the Buena Park High School band. And so it was good to see our students out there. And I was impressed. Their band director stood the entire evening. And so I said, wow, he has really kept an eye on all of these kids, which is so important when you're out there with high school kids. You never know how, our children might be influenced. And so I was happy to see that. There were so many things in our Friday reports that we're, told, and there's additional professional development for teachers and instructional assistants and counselors. I saw the behavior response team is working on improving interventions. Super Saturday, my gosh, it looked fantastic. And the pictures were very compelling. I too have gone a few times to participate with them. And it's always so much fun. And the kids are always so engaged in their learning and in real life situations. So it was fantastic to see that that's continuing. And Pendleton psychologist is working on the Special Olympics of California. So I was glad to see that we're going to be able to participate in that. And I also did a training with the Orange County School Board Association had today. That was a Zoom, so I was able to participate with that. And the speaker was from the Orange County Healthcare Agency. And she was saying it is so important to just be vigilant in keeping our, hands washed, drink lots of water. If you're sick, stay home, things like that. But she was saying if you have high risk, like asthma or being overweight, that you should go in to your doctor, or at least do a phone call and talk with them, because there are a lot of viruses that are coming now. She's talked about the rhinovirus and the RSV. She was saying how chalk is very impacted. And so there are a lot of things, of course, the flu is starting, but a lot of things are starting earlier than usual. And so just be careful, be vigilant in taking care of yourself and your family so that we stay healthy as possible through the holidays. And that, I think, was a main takeaway on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Everybody up here makes it so easy for me to speak. They said everything I wanted to say, so it just makes it easier. But first of all, I want to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. It's great to see the students, the parents. I'm excited to hear Mrs. Mata's first Emma report, to be quite honest. That's a big highlight for me too, but it's nice to see everybody here present. As you can see, I don't know if you guys can see, but I got my Charlie charm here because it's a great day to be a Eagle every single day. So I got that. Thanks to Ms. Ferreira for that. But there's a lot of great things happening within our district. I was very blown away with our ed department putting together an all-women's principal for the day. That was a big empowering statement that we put together here in our district, because that shows, you know, the equity that we have in everybody, but especially in our women leader. That's very crucial. That's very important for our students to see, just not males, but women can also be very influential and lead in any possible way they can. So thanks to our ed department, our secretaries did a phenomenal job, you know, putting together a great team of principals for that day. We had dignitaries from the city, from local businesses, and all around Winter Park. So thank you for that. After that, I had the opportunity to take a school site visit with Councilman Susan Soni at the Winter Park Middle School. It was great to walk around, see the students. We walked with to one of the SEC classes, and they were making smoothies. So we got to enjoy a little bit of a smoothie. But that's also part of the, they were being inclusive with Mrs. Andros's horticulture class. They were out there picking the you know, the mint and the ingredients and blending, putting it together. And that's also very important for everybody to have that sense of, to be inclusive within ourselves and our schools and our community. So I want to thank Mrs. Andros and that team for doing that with those students as well. Also, can't forget Veterans Day. I had Mr. Magoo do the flag salute in honor of Veterans Day. So I want to thank all the veterans and their families for their sacrifice and support that they give us so we can be here and do our civic duty. So thank you for that, Mr. Magoo. And then also had the opportunity to join, I was also at the football game. I don't know if Michelle saw me.
That's right. And your daughter.
Yes, Mr. Locke is doing a great job with that band. He did stand the whole entire game. It was cold, but it's great to see our band performing with the high school. I had an opportunity to speak to the principal, and he told me that they haven't had a middle school that feeds into the high school system that has a band, the music group team. And our middle school is gonna be feeding into the Buena Park, into the Fullerton School District, mostly Buena Park. And that's gonna be great to see these students go from the middle school to high school, straight into that band. So, and if you, he's also working on the drumline team. If you guys haven't heard that, once that is up and running, it is phenomenal. They've only been at it for at least 30 days or so, 40 days?
About 40 days.
About 40 days. And they sound like they've been doing it the whole year. And that's because of the work that Mr. Locke is doing with that music department. So kudos to him on that. And then lastly, I did have the opportunity to be a guest speaker at Fullerton College. I had the opportunity to speak about our school district, about being a school board member to future civic leaders. But it was a great way for me to share our story within the Winter Park District out there. So I want to thank Professor Box from Fullerton College for inviting me out and speaking to his class in regards to what is happening here in Winter Park as a board member and as a district. That concludes my report, Dr. Miramontes.
Well, you guys have taken everything I have. So I just want to echo some of the things. I'm super excited to have the Emory community here. I know they always come out in numbers. So congratulations, parents, for bringing your kids here and for being recognized tonight. Yeah, there are a lot of incredible things happening in our district and still a lot more to do, for sure. I do want to echo the Ed Foundation support for the Soups Cup, Kinder Kindness and their STEM things. It's a great group that's of ex board members, teachers, parents, classified staff members that are all coming together for the good of our district. A couple things I do want to highlight is we're still working
For the parents that live in the Emory tenant zone that will be feeding into Beatty School, we are working with the city currently. And just had a conversation with Sharon Cork Silva, the assemblywoman for the district there, about the possibility of doing a joint partnership for a gymnasium, because we have one here at this middle school, one at Beatty as well. I know Mr. Kim's happy about that right there. So we're looking at that, the possibility of doing a three-way partnership for that. So I appreciate the partnerships we had. I am looking forward to the World Cup. For those of you that
Mhm.
don't know, the world stops and we're looking at soccer for the next month coming through here. I've already asked Mr. Magnus, how do I get the World Cup games on my TV in the office? It's not gonna happen. It's really not. He already told me it's not gonna happen. But I'm actually more excited about the work that's being done with our PE teachers and our PE aides after school during PE time for the Soups Cup. It is something new, something we're piloting this year. It was something that we wanted to do a couple years ago, but COVID has sort of set us back. We're out of the pandemic. We're getting out there. We're doing more things for our students, things that go beyond the academic side, right? The wellness side is just as important as we know. And lastly, I just want to, Thanksgiving's around the corner. And I want to thank the Buena Park School District community, our teachers, our counselors, our classified staff members that are at the front lines for all that they do. I'm super thankful for them, for the entire Buena Park family, and I look forward to spending some time myself with my family. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Miramontes. We'll be moving on to program and reports.
All right, first up is we have Emory School. So if I could have Principal Mata come on up.
Good evening, Dr. Miramontes, Cabinet, board members, Emory staff, parents, but most importantly, my Emory Eagle scholars. My name is Giselle Mata, and I am the principal of Emory Elementary. Before we begin to celebrate the uniqueness that Emory Elementary has to offer our scholars, I'd like to share that members of my staff will be presenting alongside of me to give you a glimpse of what we offer our Eagles. Mr. Magna. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to my Eagle community. We have 684 students enrolled with TK through 5th grade scholars. 183 of those students are classified as English language learners, 33 certificated staff, and 17 classified staff. What are the golden nuggets that Emory has to offer? CGI, Gates, STEM, Coatson, Math Academy. Our partnership with Söderström Theater, and the most important of all, we are a culturally responsive campus. Mr. Beckman? Our Eagles took the iReady math assessment in the fall, and here's the breakdown of their school-wide data. 38% of our scholars are scoring at or above grade level, with 48% scoring near grade level. 15% of our scholars are currently scoring below grade level. So what that means to myself and my team is that we are going to address these issues with flexible grouping based on our students' ability. We're going to approach our scholars with CGI math story word problems, counting collection, student data share out. We're going to continue to keep an eye on that data analysis. We're going to plan lessons with intention. And of course, our goal is to improve our scholars by an entire band level. Mr. Maggie? Our area of strength measured through our iReady is reading. And the data is as follows. With 46% of our scholars scoring at or above grade level, 39% scoring near grade level, and 15% scoring below. What we are going to do as a team is we are attending to Readers and Writers Workshop. We're interacting with the tech. We're keeping an eye on that data and making sure that all of our instruction is with data at the forefront. And of course, in order to close those achievement gaps, we are guiding our students through small group instruction. Mr. Bagley. Looking at the social emotional component of our scholars, Panorama data helped us to identify that our students are doing and feeling successful. So some of those blows that I would like to share with you include that our scholars feel they have the supportive relationships they need to be successful. We have various learning strategies within our classroom, as noted by our students. Our students' belief in themselves, as well as the power of yes, is high. And this is the one I'm most proud of. 5 out of our 6 categories are in the green level. The area of growth continues to be that emotional regulation. However, I would like to include and highlight that we have grown in this area by 1 band since the fall of 2021. So what is our action? We are articulating with our wellness team, and at this moment, I'd like to introduce you to some of our members. So Mr. Kim will be speaking about how he supports our student scholars.
I don't know if that's the medium or small.
Thank you. Hello, for anyone that does not know who I am, my name is Gil Kim, and I have the privilege of this year to come out of the classroom and be our Emory School Program Specialist. Now, what does that mean? To me, it just basically means I'm the guy that does a little bit of everything. So and I think the students get a test, they see me in their classrooms, all over the playground, all over the school. Okay, but some of the highlights that we have on our slides, if you can show the next slide, please. There's some lists of examples of things that I do on a daily basis to help support our students. And some of those things include PBIS, which I will go over in the next slide, and then Passion Program, the STEAM Lab, which we, the team and I, we helped develop our new STEAM Lab this year. I also help support students with unique needs daily, which means going to classrooms and speaking to students, and also have little lessons as well. And the other one that we just starting up is a partnership with our PE coach, Coach Kim, in building student leaders, with giving them some more responsibilities during like games, being referees and areas like that. There's a lot more to the things that I have. I can probably keep going on and on, but I will not do that to you today. Okay. So, but some of the examples we have, next slide, please. Here are some of the pictures that that for positive behavior and intervention sport, which is our PBIS program. I help run that program in our school site. So we do various different activities. For example, there's an example of bingo event that we had, Electronics Day, and we have a weekly spin and win. And we also have monthly dress up days, and you can see that we have Sunglass Day right there. This week we're coming up to Accessories Day, which is on Wednesday. Students earn each week from their classrooms e-tickets, and they can use that as to pay or enter themselves in any kind of a raffle or things like that. We also created, didn't create it, but we also were able to make new shirts, and we sold that. And then this is our 3R shirts, which is being respectful, responsible, and ready to learn. So our 3 R's, and safe, designed by Mrs. Farrar. And we were able to sell that this year. And we sold about 200 shirts. So that's just me. Next, I would like to introduce Mrs. Alma Enriquez, our school counselor.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alma Enriquez. I'm the school counselor at Emory. I'm supporting my students in their academic, social, emotional, and also career development by providing individual counseling that really focuses on the individual needs of our students, just helping students find strategies that work for them. I am doing daily check-ins with students that are displaying negative behaviors. Our individual counseling sessions are usually 30 minutes once a week. Right now, we have a caseload about 35 students that we're looking at, and it's growing every single day as referrals are coming in. Second, we're doing group counseling, 6 to 8 week sessions, which focus on groups of students who are going through similar experiences, and character strong lessons that focus on important character traits that align with our PBIS, but also with our panorama data. These are just really fun and engaging lessons for our students. They're learning about different character traits that are really important for them, for their well-being. I'm getting really good feedback from our students. I feel like they're learning a lot about these important character traits, but also how to manage their emotions in a positive manner. Our SEL lessons are really nice because it's all online. This is the first time we're using Character Strong. It has definitions that are vivid and colorful for our students as teachers display them in front of their classrooms, but also our librarian has them as the students walk in. We have quotes, we have questions, just talking to students about these important character traits, videos, songs that are really nicely made for our students, are really engaging, games, but most important, I feel that the kids are learning, they're really liking it, and they're looking forward to it every time I'm in their classroom. Next slide, please. We are doing morning quotes through our morning announcements. Also monthly banners, which are displayed in front of Emory that talk about our different character traits. We have new books in our counseling office that talk about our character traits and definitions, restorative practices that we're doing, our community circles, but also behavior reflections for our students. Some of my favorite, honestly, is doing these community circles and just talking with our students about their feelings about a certain character trait. It's just really rewarding to see what they have to say. Like, for instance, this month on gratitude, especially our kindergarten students have so much to say, and it just makes my job just so much so rewarding. Friday fun days. During recess on Fridays, students are welcome to paint, play board games, bracelet making, or read a book. This is just really me trying to provide kind of like a little wellness center for our students, a space where they feel safe, but also relax, and they can just chill. We are doing recess and lunch check-ins and checkouts where I'm able to connect with as many students as possible. I think it's important to make an impact with our students and just making a difference every single day. I'm just really happy and excited for the school year to support our students at Emory. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I have another slide. I'm just going to show you kind of like our community circles in action. You can see on the left side, respect agreements, just talking about what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like. We have our definitions up there displayed as well. We have our respect banner, and then just some of our students practicing gratitude. Thank you very much. Up next is Amy Bishop.
My name is Amy Bishotti, and I have the privilege of serving as the coach and mentor for my second year at Emory, and I work with 5 fellows. I work with Anna No, Esther Lee, Grace Park, Arla Little, and Steve Little. Almost all of them are here tonight, so yay for them. If you're not familiar, coach and fellows focus on one curricular area for the entire time that they're in their program, and in my group, we have 4 people who have focused on CGI and 1 person who chose Reader's Workshop. It has been a real honor to do this job. I was just talking to Dr. Miramontes about it today. They open up their classrooms and their minds to learn new things, to try and do what's best for their students. And the way it works is we have a weekly observation cycle where I come into their classroom and for an hour and focus on a goal that they've chosen. Later in the week, we meet to debrief and talk about what we saw happen, reflect on what we think needs to change, what worked, what didn't. And I would tell you that authentic growth is really truly happening when teachers are making those choices for themselves, and they're really reflecting on what's happening in their classrooms and trying to find ways to improve. We also meet monthly after school as a group to reflect on what we're learning, to collaborate, discuss, support each other. We've created a really tight community that I'm super thankful for. It's really been an incredible experience. And just to add on to that, as participating with COTSN, we have the opportunity to have professional development like more than I could have ever imagined. We get to work with some of the best specialists in the fields of cognitively guided instruction and readers workshop. Last summer, Coatson paid for anyone who wanted to go to the cognitively guided instruction in Florida for a week. A big group of us went, and they also supported Readers Workshop with Teachers College virtually for Ms. Park and I to be able to do that as well. We also got to go to the Q conference in March and learn about ways that we can institute and integrate technology into our teaching. And on top of that, they have a yearly conference in September that we just attended. And as I said, we have a monthly meeting. We choose something that we want to study. We actually got to meet the authors of our book that we're studying, and they were so kind. They were telling Mrs. Snow, give us a call. Let us know. Maybe we can Zoom in with you guys and talk to you about it afterwards. So like the opportunities to meet people and engage have been really amazing. In terms of culturally responsive teaching that Principal Mata mentioned, Coatson really makes that a priority and created a Coatson Cares luncheon last year where they handed out culturally responsive books to every teacher at our campus, not just Coatson teachers, but every teacher. And they also made it available for teachers to participate in a Coatson authors series so that students would be able to see those authors reading their books on Zoom and have an opportunity to see themselves represented. So if you see the picture of all of us, they've got their books that they got at our luncheon. So I just wanted to say thank you to the board for allowing Coatson to be a part of our district, because it's been an amazing opportunity to learn and grow as professionals. And I'm going to introduce Mrs. Little, who's going to talk about our math class.
Good evening, President Frutos, members of the board, Dr. Miramontes, members of the district cabinet, and guests in the audience, especially our Emory Eagles here in the front. My name is Arla Little. I'm currently the academy teacher at Emory Elementary School. I teach a total of 7 classes. 3 of those classes are Math Academy classes for grades 3, 4, and 5. 3 of the classes are designated ELD, and then I have an intensive reading intervention class for our 3rd graders. But today, I'm going to focus on our 3 Math Academy classes that I teach in the morning. All 3 of the Math Academy classes are in the district are focused on helping to serve all students in grades 3, 4, and 5 in our elementary schools. And these classes help to reduce the other class sizes, which assist our fellow colleagues to better support our students, and with the goal of increasing math test scores. And you can see in this slide up here, this is iReady data from last school year. So that is showing the increase by the grade levels, 46% in 3rd, 34% in 4th, and 30% in 5th grade. And that's even with the Omicron surge that we had. And it was had to be pulled out a little bit to substitute. So I'm hoping that the data will show that this school year, the increase will be even more reflective of what the school year is like. 2 of us Math Academy teachers in the district are Coatson Fellows, me and Mary Lee Parker at Pendleton School. And we're receiving, again, just what Mrs. Bishotti mentioned earlier. We're receiving training in the area of CGI math, which I'm really grateful for. So thank you again, governing board, for that. We Academy teachers all work with other teachers at our grade levels, and at Emory School, I meet with 12 other fellow teachers every Thursday afternoon, and we work and plan together to do what's best to support our students just in the area of mathematics. And then I leave and I go to the next grade level, and then they continue talking about other things. My specific academy students, they're able to understand the grade level standards quickly, so thus I'm able to push the content into it like a little bit of much more of a deeper level and to push their learning. So because of my mathematical work with my Coatson mentor, Mrs. Bishotti, and the CGI trainings that I've received, I've been able to support my students to apply new knowledge to real world applicable situations involving mathematics. My students are motivated to learn how math is applicable to them personally. And the question that is often asked in my classroom is, how does this math affect me in my real life? We've been working, looking at graphs, and we're looking at charts, and the questions and the conversations that happen in the classroom are just, they're surprising, and it's just giving me hope for this Gen Z generation, which is really wonderful. In turn, I asked my students, how will you be able to use the mathematical knowledge to serve others now and in your future? So it's something that they're thinking about, not just, when they're in third, fourth, fifth grade, but how can they take the the mathematical knowledge and think about the future. Let's go ahead to go to the next slide. Thanks, Mr. Magnin. A regular weekly math practice that our students are working on in the classroom is counting collections. And you may have seen counting collections in lower grades, but it's effective for advanced mathematicians as well. So in this slide, you can see that one of the things is counting collections. So I just want to focus a little bit there. And there's some work there on the right for some of our primary classrooms that are coming up to me later. And let's go to the next slide. Thank you, Mr. Magnin. It is also effective in the upper grades too, and then for advanced mathematicians. It's a structured opportunity for students to count large collections of objects. They classify, they count them, they organize groups of objects, and then they record how they counted them. So what does that look like for advanced mathematicians that are in grades 3, 4, and 5? What I love about this practice is that students get to practice algebra skills in the elementary grades. They get to practice with concrete objects. Personally, when I learned algebra in junior high, it was completely in a non-concrete form. Counting and organizing real tangible objects provides a space for my students to learn about and generalize the structure of the base 10 number system, while also encouraging them to try out various types of mathematical functions and equations. They work with fractions, decimals, arrays, and they are able to practice properties like the distributive property and the commutative property. And they're becoming more precise, more efficient, and creative during this whole mathematical process. Plus, it's super fun. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. If you in the audience have any questions, you can always email me at my district account, alittle@bpsd.us. So I hope you were able to get a little bit bigger, broader picture of what that looks like, specifically for the Math Academy classes at Emory School. And I'd like to introduce Esther Lee, who's not only a friend of mine, she's my colleague and she's a fellow coach and mentor, and she's one of the GATE teachers at Emory School. Thank you.
Good evening. I guess I don't have to introduce myself. My name is Esther Lee, and it is a privilege to be here. This is I'm going to be talking about the GATE program, which is the Gifted and Talented Education. This is our third year at Emory, being a self-contained school with all the GATE students. At this present time, we have one third grade class with Ms. Sutherland. We have 2 fourth grade GATE classes with Mr. Little and myself, and then a 5th grade class with Mrs. Wu. So being that we have so many GATE students, we have collaborated with each other. We've been doing, even through COVID, we have actually had competitions through and throughout. One of the first competitions that we have done, actually, before I go to that, let me go to the next slide. I'm going to go over some of the goals that we've actually achieved, and this is what we kind of focus on mainly. Our first goal is to meet the needs of our students with higher level of thinking and scholastic achievement. We do this through our depth and complexity. We collaborate with each other. We're always in contact with each other, trying to see what can we do to better our students, help each other out. In the past, we have gone to the GATE conference. I haven't done that in about 3 years, so. But that is other ways we can do it, but we do keep in contact with other GATE teachers as well. In addition, the nurturing of our students in unique talent, we look at their abilities, we do their interests, and actually at Emory, we are starting to create the eTube again. So that's another thing we do with our GATE students. We will be also focusing on whether it be the math competition, we're looking at different aspects of that. So that's coming up soon. And then last but not least, the next part is extending their educational experience to what they can reach their fullest potential. We are doing this through our it's called Defined Learning that we've been trained in for about 2 years now. And this is my 2nd year doing it. And what a glorious thing that they come up with. They have to create backpacks out of things, whether it be a catapult. They can't just do a simple catapult that we do in our twig. They have to modify it and then think about it again, change it up again. So we have a whole program for that we've been trained in. And that's through the Divine Learning. So thank you for allowing our school to have that, and all the other GATE teachers have access to the Divine Learning. In addition, how are we doing this? We're doing deeper inquiry skills and encouraging creative problem solving through this as well. So again, we're using what our curriculum is and then going a little bit deeper with what they are. On the next slide, you will see some pictures. And these are the competitions we have. Our first competition we always have for the first trimester is the Shark Tank, where they build something and they have to come up with an ingenuitive idea of something that we have and now create something and make it better and making our lives better. How can you make something better? So this year, that is the first picture in the yellow box. Those are our winners from this year. And he made a coin sorter and he was voted by the GATE students as the #1 innovator. And he was a 3rd grader this year. So that is our first trimester. Second trimester, we're going to be doing the floor challenge. Last year, it was a ball run. So as you can see, that's a picture from last year's ball run, and we get all the GATE classes together and they compete against each other. And the students again get to vote on the best one, best based on time. We haven't got the new floor challenge yet. We're waiting on that. And the third, but not least, is in the corner on the right. Those are our Battle of the Books. The students read 12 books within a short time period, and then we have a competition. Now, the top of each class goes to the competition to compete against each other. And that's just evidence of some of our students that were in the competition, and they get medals at the end. So, beyond this, that is what our GATE class is, and back to Mrs. Mazza.
And before I begin and even continue with my presentation, I'd like to take a moment to thank my dedicated staff, because without them, Emory wouldn't be the place that it is for our scholars, and it wouldn't be a successful landing for our students. So thank you. Thank you. With that, congratulations, boys and girls. And we've saved the best for last, and that's you. So I'd like to recognize some of our scholars this moment for achieving the Buena Park School District core ethical values. So ladies and gentlemen, when I call your name, you're going to come on up to Dr. Miramontes, and he will be giving you your certificate. Congratulations to Samuel Winters in 5th grade. Lainey Moss in 4th grade. Congratulations to Victoria Lee in 3rd grade. Way to go to our scholar, Juliana Salinas in 2nd grade. Congratulations to Samuel Kim in 1st grade. And our young kindergartner, congratulations, Acadia Lee. And our youngest Eagle on campus, Aaliyah Bellamy in TK. Congratulations, Emory Eagles. We are so proud of you.
I'm gonna ask the Emory staff to stand back here. Give them a big round of applause.
I think I have like 8 bites.
Justin Bieber's here. Pictures. Let's give them a big round of applause. Parents, you're welcome to take your kid. You have two choices. You can stay here, listen to the rest of our board meeting, or you can take your kids to celebrate at home. Your call.
But
Congratulations.
before everybody goes home, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I want to thank the entire Emory community. So really quick before everybody goes home, I just want to thank everybody, especially all the scholars, the teachers, the students, all the faculty at Emory. It's always great to be on campus. Really quick before you guys go, I have a quick little story. So one time I was there on a visit. I had Dr. Miramontes worried about me getting hurt in the handball courts. I had Mr. Kim getting worried about me getting dirty. And I had the kids more concerned about beating me during the game. So that was my highlight of that visit. So it's always a pleasure to be on campus, and it's always great to be around the students, which is the main focus part. So thank you for being here tonight, and congratulations to all the students.
And I'd also like to take a moment to thank Dr. Miramontes, our cabinet, and the governing board, as well as our parents and our scholars for coming out today. And board, this concludes my presentation, and I am the proud principal of Emory Elementary.
Great. Ice cream time. Says the parent that doesn't give them ice cream at home. Says the parent that doesn't give them ice cream at home.
Oh, that was cute.
Right.
That's good. We'll continue with our program and reports. Dr. Miramontes.
Yes, next up is our EL program report. So here to present that is the Director of Curriculum Instruction, Mrs. Michelle Centeno.
Thank you so much. I honestly don't know how I'm gonna follow after that beautiful presentation and those beautiful smiling faces. So always wonderful to have our school sites here. With that, good evening, Board President Frutos, members of the Governing Board, Superintendent Dr. Miramontes, members of Executive Cabinet, and of course, our esteemed guests. This evening, it's my pleasure to give you an overview of one of our unique, so we learned about the uniqueness of the Emory site and community. So today I get to share with you one of our unique groups, our English language learners. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we're going to start by just taking a look at overall demographics that we have here in our district so that you can see the richness that comes from the diversity that we have here within Buena Park. So we have quite a bit of diversity, and that is one of our strengths. I'm going to try to go through my 20 some slides because it seemed like a really good idea when I was creating this. But it's been a little bit of a long evening already. So next slide, please. By the way, before I keep going, I just want everyone to know that the data that I'm sharing with you is current as of this year, and it comes from CDE's website, DataQuest. So all of this information is available for anyone to go back and review in depth. So let's start with what is an English language learner? So there are actually some slight variations, but basically an English language learner is a student who, when enrolling for the very first time in a California school, fills out a home language survey, and it lists a language other than English as a language spoken at home. And so that triggers for the English learner or for that student testing. We also have LTELs and we have at risk of being LTELs. So these are some newer definitions. There goes my voice again. I just don't have my teacher practice of my teacher voice. And I can't blame it on Harry Styles because that was a few weeks back. All right, so we'll start with LTELs. So LTELs are long-term English learners, and these are students who enrolled in a California public school. They've been here for 6 years and they have not reclassified. Our at-risk LTELs are students who have been enrolled here in our California or US schools for 4 to 5 years, and they have not reached English proficiency. Just a little bit of a nuanced definition there. Next slide, please. So as you can see with this historical perspective, Buena Park has always been committed to focusing on our English language learners. There is a tremendous amount of history and work and effort on behalf of our district for teachers, for our EL students, and for our community. Let's take a look at a little bit more historical data. Next slide, please. So what you see here is trend data, English learner enrollment data. Again, current data, and you can see that this goes back all the way to 2013-14. So about 9 years worth of data. And you can see that there has been a decrease since 9 years ago, but that is also commensurate with our overall trend in enrollment. What you also notice here is that for the past 3 years, our EL population has remained consistent. Next slide. So looking at our English learners, of our just over 4,000 students, our percentage of English learners, 35%, or about 1,300 students, closer to 1,400 students, are reclassified fully English proficient students. You see the percentage there, about 510 students. You also see combined our English only students and our IFEP. So our IFEP students are initial fluent English proficient students, which means that they took the initial assessment when they first enrolled, but they came out at a proficiency level that was equivalent to a peer who speaks only English. We also have additional data here, our LTELs and at risk of becoming LTELs, and we will monitor these students very, very carefully. Hopefully the board will approve the use of Elevation, an online platform that will help us be able to really focus in, identify, and monitor our EL students. Next slide, please. So we looked at district-wide data. Now we're going to take a look at EL students by school sites. So you can see that we have English learners across every single site here in our district. However, we do have our highest percentage and number of EL students at the elementary level at Gilbert Elementary with about 51% ELs. And then for the middle school, we do have our highest percentage at Buena Park Middle School. Overwhelmingly, the language that our students speak is Spanish. However, we do have Korean-speaking students, and I'd like to note that Emory has our highest population of Korean-speaking students. Next slide. All right, this is an important roadmap. So this slide here shows the path that an English learner takes when enrolling in a California public school. So the first thing is a home language survey is given. And there were links to this. Hopefully you had a chance to see this in the Friday report. So if you want to go back and take a look with more time and depth, you can do so. But we have a home language survey given to our students when they first enroll in our schools. And that measures if the student is proficient with English or not. Next If a student is identified as being an English learner, they do take that initial LPAC assessment. And again, that's where they are identified as IFEP or EL. If a student is identified as being an English language learner, then every spring they take the summative LPAC. And we'll get into a little more detail in just a few minutes on the difference between the two assessments. Our English learners continue to take the summative LPAC until it is time to consider them for reclassification. That is the goal for all of our English learner students, reclassification. Next slide. You all can't see this, but I am so distracted by the cutest little red-haired Henry outside. He's adorable. So LPAC testing components. This is the assessment that we give to our English language learners. There are 2 areas, an oral and a written piece. And there are 4 domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Next slide. The LPAC calendar. So the LPAC calendar, again, we do have 2 assessments. The initial given only one time when a student first enrolls in a California public school. The second is the summative. The initial LPAC, because EL students can enroll at any time, is given throughout the school year. So July 1 through June 30th, while the summative LPAC is given February 1st through May 31st. We use the results, or we will use the results once again on the dashboard for accountability. Next slide. The LPAC has 4 proficiency levels: 1, beginning, all the way through level 4, which is well developed, and that is the goal for our students. Next slide. So here what you're looking at is spring 2022 summative LPAC proficiency levels. And I'd like to note that this does not show growth. What it does show is where a student is at in their progression of language fluency. And that's really critical because we look at this data so that we know what level we need to instruct our students in with designated ELD. Next slide. Looking closer at the different areas: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So our 4 domains, you can see that our students here in Buena Park are doing exceptionally well in the area of speaking, probably because initiatives like voice and choice, as well as strategies, for example, during CGI instruction that really promotes kids having conversations. If we want to develop language, we need our students to speak. We also need them, of course, to listen, read, and write. And you can see the different scores that we have across those domains. Next slide, please. So the reason that that level 4 is so important on the LPAC is because it is one of the reclassification. Remember, that's the goal for our English learners, for our EL kids. On the left, you'll see the required criteria, so required by state. On the right, you'll see our criteria. So our students do need to have level 4 overall on the LPAC. They also need a teacher recommendation, a parent consultation, and also CAS scores that show that they are meeting or exceeding standards. If the students are not 3rd through 8th grade, we take a look at their iReady scores. We also look at report card grades to ensure a student is ready to be reclassified. Next slide, please. All right, here you can take a look at, again, trend data going all the way back to the 11-12 school year. And this shows the number of reclassified students across the district. This year, we're hoping that we are able to increase opportunities for our English learners to reclassify by offering 2 windows, a spring and a fall. Next slide, please. Now, I know you've seen this before. This is our CAS data for our EL students, specifically in language arts and in math. And our students here are showing some growth. Is it where we want it to be? Not yet, but yet is the operative word. Most kids take 5 to 7 years to fully develop their language proficiency. Imagine then developing your language, a second language, and learning content. It's quite daunting. Next slide. However, I feel like I can just drop the mic at this point. When our students do meet proficiency, when they are reclassified, you can see how exceptionally well they do. Next slide, please. And so now, what are we continuing to focus on for our English learners here in Buena Park? Professional development, always. We always need to continue to develop our skills as educators because that impacts what happens in the classrooms. Again, site focus on English language learners, continuing to use our newly adopted materials, Language Power or English 3D. Also continuing to use strategies that support English learners, like what we use in CGI. We also have MTSS tiered supports that will continue to support our students academically and with behavior. And of course, parent engagement, because we know it takes all of us. Next steps, updating our EL master plan with OCDE. So we're going to go through a process very similar to the LCAP plan, where we will get input from all of our educational partners on what our EL students should be able to expect here in Buena Park. We also want to continue to celebrate EL growth, and we want to, hopefully with board approval, use Elevation software again to really focus in on how our students are doing. I mentioned already reclassification opportunities. That's important for our kids. And before I end, just a few pictures. Next slide, please. Of the team it takes to really be able to support our English language learners. So what you'll see here on the left, our DLAC board, and these are our DLAC board members that meet, they plan the agenda, they meet all the legal requirements. I'm so proud of this team. On the top right, I know that's a little bit small, but here you can see teachers, administrators, parents coming in to see CGI instruction. So board member is there too, or President Frutos on the far right.
The little short one right there.
You can see again in the center, our parents who come together. They are so committed to our English learners and helping them achieve. And then down at the bottom, you'll see a great sea of teachers being trained by Dr. Flores on designated ELD. Why? All in benefit of, last slide, please, our amazingly resilient and talented English language learners. Again, the goal is reclassification, but I would also like to highlight that this last year, under the direction of our educational programs department with Director Huang and TOSA Esther No, that our students received home language recognition. So we're celebrating the richness, the culture, the assets, the languages that they bring, because they are amazing students. Next slide. Any questions?
I just have a question.
Yes.
Well, first, there's actually two. So for the reclassification numbers, just for 18, 19, do we know the reason why the number was so low? Is there, for the reclassified students, it was only 65 as opposed to the year after being 332, just so like we learn from like what happened there.
So the reclassification criteria can be modified from year to year. And so although I wasn't here during that time, I do suspect that probably the criteria We tend to be very conservative. We set the bar high because we really want our students to be ready for reclassification. We don't want to reclassify students before they're ready because we don't want to see, once that process happens, our students start to slide. So I suspect that during this time frame, the criteria was very, very stringent. And I do want to say that though it has changed, it did meet state compliance during our FPM review, which was last year. Last year seems long ago, but it did, our criteria did meet all state requirements.
So we set that. So the district sets that.
Correct.
We set that,
Yeah.
yes, but it is reviewed during that FPM process and we have to make sure that it does meet all the requirements.
And then my second question was, and I think I reached out to you a month or so ago, just, sometimes we get asked by parents like, my students, my child is doing great. How did they get reclassified? And of course, I didn't have the answer, so I sent them over to you. But is there something that we have that we give to parents of English language learner students that is translated, that kind of gives them like a roadmap of like what happens once your kid is, an EL student? And it just kind of just sums up kind of what you told us of like what needs to happen in order for them to go to the next step. And do we have it something like that? I'm not sure.
So we are working on making sure that that's put on our district website. If you could go back a few slides, Mr. Magoo. Going. Right there. So again, this is the criteria. It does meet all legal requirements. We are working to put this on our district website. We are also through the EL Master Plan Committee that is forming. We will be sharing this with our parents. We've also shared with our DLAC parents and any other parent who wants to find out what is the process for reclassification. We've shared, our parents have asked, and we have done that. Because I think that our parents don't always know that it's more than just reaching that level 4 on the LPAC. It's also making sure that grades, that students are doing well academically on their grades, that the teachers are in agreement with reclassifying the student, which basically is saying, yes, this child is performing at that academic level that is comparable to an English only speaking peer their age. And of course, we take a look at CASP or iReady scores to ensure that those do meet grade level expectations. And then lastly, we have that parent consultation. So you're right. We have already started to really be able to share that with our parents, and we need to continue to do so.
Just something they could take home, like once they're classified. Just like a little, I don't know. They get to take it and it's translated also, because obviously we know that these parents probably would need that. So just give them a roadmap, because we're only talking to them on that last step. We're not really having, a conversation so that they know exactly what they have to look out for too.
Yes, the other place that it is listed, so if a child becomes identified as an English language learner on the annual notification, we do include the reclassification criteria so that parents are aware, and all parents of English language learners receive that annual notification every year. So it is listed there as well. But yes, we will continue to make sure that we are sharing with our families what that process is, what the roadmap is, so that they're aware too.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I was going to say, in addition to that, is there somewhere where the parents can see, like you're saying, like the grades that the kids get in their classes? Like, so monitoring their kids' homework and making sure that they're reading at home at night and, them reading to their kids. I mean, there are things that parents can do to help their kids become more fluent. And then let me ask you, I know some parents only read in Spanish or Korean. Would something like reading to them and asking them questions about what they've read, would that be something that would help their kids be able to transfer that information over to English also?
Absolutely. So really, it doesn't matter if a parent is reading in English, in their primary language. The important thing, the key is that parents read to their children, or if kids are reading on their own, that parents ask questions. Again, it doesn't matter the language, but that parents are asking questions of their children as far as what they're reading. Tell me about what you read. Tell me about the characters. What are their traits? What was the problem in the story? What was the solution? Right? Because really, if it's happening in primary language, that's still developing language. And all you need to do really in learning that second language, English, is you're learning those labels, but the concepts are already there and they simply need the labels to transfer that knowledge over. So yes, we do provide many, many parent workshops for our families around how to support their children's academics, not just English language learners, but all children. And we also have had some specific workshops for our EL parents. Thank you for bringing up that point.
I have another question. I know that there's a new EL curriculum this year. Is it too soon to tell if that is more effective than the previous one that we've been using?
So it's interesting that you asked that because we are continuing to work with Dr. Flores, and she is meeting with every school site twice, a minimum of twice this year. And we have had pre-meetings with principals so that we can discuss before she goes in to meet with the staff, what are the needs? What are they seeing as far as using language power? And then for our middle schools, English 3D, because this year, it's about getting teachers comfortable with using the curriculum. That's really what it's about, because they need to become familiar, they need to use it, implement it, and then we can go deeper with strategies, additional strategies to help our students throughout the rest of the day. So is it too soon? We're getting some anecdotal feedback from Dr. Flores's visits to our school sites. Thank you for asking.
Lastly, I think our board asked our questions that I had in mind, but I just want to highlight the work that you've done with our DLive parents. I can see the difference in the work that you've done with them, especially when it comes to their EL students. So I've seen the difference at 360, changing them from when they started to where they're at now. I think you set the foundation and, the expectation of what it takes to help them succeed, but also help their children succeed in the process. So I just want to highlight and thank you for the work that you've done with that set of parents. And back to Mrs. Rodia's first question about biliteracy. Are we having biliteracy libraries to be more inclusive in our schools, or are teachers being more mindful and understanding that biliteracy is something that we need to kind of maybe try to focus on understanding those students who might need that biliteracy so they can be encouraged to read in their language or take that information back home so the parents can understand?
So first of all, thank you for bringing up DLAC, because our parents, again, are doing a tremendous job, but really it's our parents. It's our parents, it's their commitment, it's their passion for helping their students succeed. Second, our pillars for ed services, and we have shared this at every staff development, every principals meeting, equity, rigor, and culture. Those are our three tenets or pillars, if you will. And so part of that really does involve making sure that we are representing the children in our classrooms with the materials that they have available. We have just started that work of, again, trying to order more materials that really are inclusive and reflective of our students, but we still have more work to do. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions?
That's it. Thank you, Santana.
Thank you so much.
Continuing program and reports, Dr. Manamontes.
Yes, next up, we have Mr. Mike Maglu and Mr. Tim Spencer from IntelliQ. That will talk about the facilities and modernization update. Mr. Spencer?
Yeah, good evening. I have a real quick update for you guys, and basically today, our agenda will talk about the bond construction, the projects that are ongoing, the solar, some facilities operations items, and then the Cal Shape update. So first off, with Beatty Athletic Building, We're waiting till Thanksgiving break to complete some purchase items that we need to get done. So we're just taking advantage of the time off to be able to get in there and have the contractors complete some items. The district is currently in the process of rekeying the course, so all the keys will be updated to the site keying system. That way the teachers and staff have access to the building, not using a separate key. The building was turned over to the site. They did occupy, the staff is in there, and the students will be taken over shortly. We're in the process. Mike's in the process of working with the staff on that to be able to have them fully occupy the building. So we're excited about that. We get those bunch of items we take care of as Thanksgiving break comes here. The Whitaker Curb Bill project. Again, during Thanksgiving, we'll be in there doing some items that we have to do throughout the parking lot and then throughout some landscaping items, which we can do that as well. The marquee is on order. As of Friday, we were being told that we should have it and delivered in time for spring break. We're hoping to install it during that time. Not giving the exact date for that because of how shipping is right now. But that is our hope, is to get that installed during spring break. The delivery that's when they say it is. So the playground, so Corey, we have the material, it's ready to be installed. We are holding off on the installation of the material until we get confirmation of the playground material, until we get confirmation that the synthetic grass is available. We do not have an exact date. We're told it could be any day. And then once that is available, we know the ship date of the artificial turf. We will start the install of the playground equipment ahead of that to be able to get that thing completed as soon as possible. Whitaker and Pendleton are the two sites that will be on hold with pending the material availability as that comes in from manufacturing. So the NPR upgrades, as previously stated, over winter break, we will be installing the nano walls and the tack board, and then the storefront will be installed during the winter break as well. The benches and the tables, those will be installed during spring break. So we are on track for all that to be completed during those breaks. And we'll be working with the site ahead of the material coming in. It actually comes in during the winter break. It's coming in a few weeks early to get prep and get ready to install during those time slots. Pendleton's the opposite. So during spring break, we'll have the nano walls in the storefront, and then during winter break, we'll have the tables and benches. So those are switched. Again, we're taking advantage of the time off and the sites being closed to be able to complete those items. So regarding Pendleton, we are on track for substantial completion by the end of March. I'm going to turn that over to be able to have the site use that for the end of the school year. So that's a pretty tight schedule. We're hoping rain doesn't delay that. We should be dried in here pretty quick. As soon as we get dried in, we'll be able to get, the sheeting and the drywall. Once the drywall is installed, it goes pretty quick to finishes. So we are on track for that as of now, and doing everything we can to stick to that date. It's an aggressive schedule. It's about 3 weeks earlier than the original bid schedule.
With regards to the Beatty Athletics building, our intent was to actually have the keys done, rekeyed, but with the rain and everything else, we recast our staff to go and fix the leaks. That's more important than getting the keys relocked. So our locksmith, he's coming back tomorrow and he'll be on site to take it. He said it'd probably get done within the day. They're hoping that the locks will be rekeyed tomorrow, and then again, the locks are going to be rekeyed to what staff use, and staff would be like the classroom keys that anyone can use and get them on campus. Okay, a quick solar project update. We have Beatty and Bonaparte Middle School completed to the point where they took the fences down. Now we have a hold on a lot of our solar projects moving forward. One of the hold is the fact that Southern California Edison is being slow to respond to the shut off times, and we have to do schedule a shut off time for, it's going to be about a 9 or 10 hour shutdown time on each school site. And so we're at work with Southern California Edison to actually get that completed and scheduled, so that, and we're just waiting on them to respond to our request. We've done all the other paperwork that we need to do to make sure that all the financing and all the accounts are identified as far as the transference of energy from one point contact to another point contact. Corey arrays, Emory arrays have been completed, and the fencing has been removed at all of those campuses. We now just have the Whitaker, which should be coming down next week, and Gilbert, which should be coming down next week. Pendleton scheduled for the 30th to fence and come down. Again, we are waiting on some back ordered parts. They're mainly for the connection for what's called the power control systems or POC. And to connect all that back into the rays, and so that the rays will actually be live once they do the power shut off switches. So the power shut off switch delayed materials in February. They're looking at the completion in February of 2023.
So when the fences haven't been removed, I saw them, so there's no need for them to go back up once we get those pieces, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
They
I
may
heard
do
that
a
they
little,
might- yeah.
wraparound
Just a
of
little.
the area they want to do. That's just to protect the kids on campus and them,
Okay.
but there's not going to be that whole big fencing.
There's gonna be asphalt under Emory's, correct?
They are in charge, the solar panel company is responsible for doing a path of travel at Emory. They have not determined whether it's asphalt or concrete yet. Right, and they have other path of travels that they have to do, but that's another subject that they're working with the new
So it's not
DSA
gonna stay
inspector.
grass, it's not gonna stay.
Underneath.
what's underneath.
Right, yeah, I want to thank you, the board, for allowing us to giving us authorization to start going out to bid. One of our biggest bids that we want to do is with the, we just got the thermostat upgrade, which is, we're gonna, after tonight, it's on the consent, or it's on the action item for the thermostat, which is our multi-zone areas, Beatty, Corey, and the district office to come off these thermostats, which are not good for multi-zone systems, to get with a different thermostat that will be able to, that'll reduce the level of support and maintenance we need to do for the HVACs, because thermostats are actually breaking the HVAC systems as we go through the system. So that's a big one. We're waiting on the final reports for the 4 schools we did with the CalShape. That's going to come up, and then we'll have an idea what schools to proceed with as far as the next bid. And we should have the other new one, which CalShape just awarded us for the second grant. And that HVAC permission, so they will probably go in January, February timeframe, so we can get the AC units ordered, even though they won't be here for up to 22 to almost a year and a half from here. All right. We met with we're meeting with the district staff are meeting with teachers and principals to determine what the AV classroom AV situation should be like as we move past, because right now, because of the impact of the type of AV systems being designed by these companies, nothing is now compatible with anything we have inside our system, because they're just completely just said, we're just drawing a line in the sand, we're moving to the next level.
Wow.
And if you guys have this old stuff, you have to buy new equipment, and that's very expensive. So we're looking to get a standard, get the teachers buy-in on this, get principals buy-in on this, and move forward with the type of AV that's going to support us over when we do a refresh over 5 years.
Mike, last time we installed the Emory and Pendleton were the first 2, that was 8
Correct.
years ago, 9 years ago now?
9 years
Going on
ago.
9 years.
9 years ago.
Right, and the equipment was like a 5-year cycle, correct?
Correct.
Stretched it as long as we could.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see some glitches in the system. Almost like when you buy an iPhone and the iPhone is, for those that have 5E, I don't have a 5E anymore. They took my 5E away. But when you had that 5E and you wanted to upgrade, you can no longer upgrade, we'll sustain. So I do appreciate, I think, is Andy gonna lead that?
Yes.
So Andy, our
Technology toast.
our technology host, blank on his last name.
Osborne.
Yeah, everybody knows Andy Osborne. Right? So Andy Osborne will be leading this with principals and with staff, find out what they really actually need in the classroom. This was designed prior in the past with a consultant that came out, so we want to keep the level high, because we want to stretch ourselves. But at the same time, we want to make it practical for our teachers and beneficial for the cost of what we're looking at. So look forward to having Andy work through that process.
And so, moving on from that, we have the, on the action calendar tonight, we have the EV piggyback bid for the bus on there. Once we approve that tomorrow we'll send off the PO for the SQAMP South Coast Air Quality Management District grant to get our EV, which should get delivered, our bus, our large bus will be delivered by August of 2023. One of the things that are requirements is we have to take a good look of our current facilities, infrastructure for electric systems here at the district office. And we are currently a one-phase system. We need to be a two-phase system, right? And so that does mean some new power units being installed by Southern California Edison here at the district office for us to move forward on that. So we're looking at grants to cover that. There's $20,000 in the current grant to go towards that. And there's some additional grants that we're going to do, but we're looking between now and the time the bus arrives to actually get that construction in place here at the district office. All right, CalShape grant. We're gonna total, once all funding said and done, $746,000 worth of filters, CO2 monitors, break fix going out to our districts. But the most important is the survey and the report coming out of here that we'll be able to identify which AC units can be replaced. And we have funding set aside for those AC units. The second grant will cover Beatty, Corey, and Emory HVAC. So we'll have all that done probably by the end of February. Any questions?
Just hoping for the heat waves to wait until we're out of school.
We're hoping to have this ready for the start of the school year.
I just want to thank you guys for the work because I know we had some setbacks and some delays and things on back order. But I appreciate the fact that we're working through all those issues, finding solutions and still staying on course to finish these projects, hopefully on time as we hope so. So thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Word of the year, back order.
Yeah.
And it's been a huge challenge dealing with the material deliveries and delays. So many items recently is out of everyone's control. But I think the team's doing a really good job and the district's working really well with the site staffs to be able to communicate those to navigate those related issues. So
Yeah,
I
and
appreciate
it's just find those solutions, and I appreciate, everybody working on finding those solutions to keep us on track. I know at one point, the teams worked over the weekend, so that's one way to still kind of stay on track, but, times are different, challenges are, present, but solutions are still, ways that we can still figure things out, and we're getting things done, so thanks to your guys' team, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to hearing session. The audience members may request to address the board on an item on or off the agenda per board bylaws 9323. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the governing board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board limits total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. Total time allowed for public comment shall be 30 minutes. Audience members wishing to address the board during the hearing session of the agenda should fill out a request to address the governing board form and turn it into the executive assistant prior to holding the board hearing session. Dr. Miramontes.
We have no
Comments? Thanks for that. Moving on to action calendar. We have interdistrict request 222-3 SOANK. It's recommended that the governing board uphold the denial of interdistrict transfer request 222-3 SOANK.
I'll make a motion.
A motion, thank you. So, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sheriff. Is there any discussion? If no discussion, we'll move to approve this item. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Authorization to partner with Action for Healthy Kids Nourished Ed and acceptance of fund. It's recommended the governing board authorized to partner with Action for Healthy Kids Nourish Ed and accept funds. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, I just want to thank Mrs. Director Wong for working with her staff to go out and seek additional partnerships. This is going to bring $20,750 for remote health and wellness for our students, and I'm just asking the board to approve this. We sliced up $2,250 per school site, and the rest $5,000 to the school district.
Do I have a motion?
motion.
Thank you, Michelle. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Tron. Is there any discussion? When no discussion, we'll move to have the item be approved. All in favor? Nominee motion passes 4-0. Authorization to participate in the Quality Start OC Rating and Improvement System, QRIS, for state preschool programs and accepted of funds. It's recommended that the governing board authorize participation in the Quality QRIS for state preschool programs and accept funds. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, we have a maximum payment for $37,000 again under the leadership of Dr. Cantu, Director Wong, and Mary Beckelheimer. Will set to receive $37,000. I believe we're going to challenge a couple of these other schools. We feel that both, and I believe it was Corey and Emory that should have received an additional $9,000. So we're going to seek guidance on that. But as of now, I'm asking the board to recommend and approve I'm recommending the action item here and look forward to bringing forward to another item for the other two sites as well.
Thank you, Dr. Miramontes. Do I have a motion?
A motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Chong. Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. Is there any discussion on this item? With no discussion, we'll have this item be moved to be approved. All in favor? And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Approve the use of Beach Cities Nutrition Service Cooperative RFP number 2021-04, paper products and cleaning supplies. It's recommended that the governing board approve the use of Beach Cities Nutrition Service Cooperative RFP number 2021-04. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, so items D through H, I know you've got to ask, we'll only give you one definition. Items D through H, nutritional services requesting approval of 5 different piggybackable bids. These bids cover various types of food, paper goods, and cleaning supplies needed and used by the nutritional services department.
Thank you, Dr. Miramontes. Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chong.
Second.
Thank you, Shay. Any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have this item be moved to be approved. All in favor? And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Approve of use of Hesperia Unified School District RFP number 21-008 dairy products. It's recommended that the governing board approve the use of Hesperia Unified School District RFP number 21-008.
I motion to approve that.
Thank you, Mr. Chong. Have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Ahmad. During discussion? With no discussion, we'll have this item be moved to be approved. All in favor? And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Approve of approve the use of Garden Grove Unified School District piggyback bid RFP 2011 frozen refrigerated processed commodity dry foods and distribution of food services. It's recommended that the governing board approve the use of the Garden Grove Unified School District RFP 2011 frozen refrigerated processed commodity dry foods and distribution of food service. Motion.
Motion.
Thank you, Shay.
Second.
Thanks, Tron. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have this item be moved to be approved. All in favor? And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Approve the use of the Riverside Unified School District piggyback bid number 2017/18-11 fresh bread and tortilla products. It's recommended that the governing board approve the use of Riverside Unified School District piggyback bid number 2017/18-11. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. Any discussion?
We always discuss this one, that if they need anyone to sample the tortilla, and mashed potatoes, available.
Motion second that.
Any discussion on this item? With no discussion, we'll have this item be moved to be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Approve of the use of the Oxnard School District piggyback bid RFP number 664 produce products. It's recommended that the governing board approve the Oxnard School District RFP number 664. Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Thank you, Ms. Shedd. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have this item be moved to be approved. All in favor? Nominee motion passes 4-0. Approval to award the HVAC multi-zone thermostat component and service bid. It's recommended that the governing board award the bid to Diversified Thermal Services Incorporation. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, we heard the report from our staff. Just looking for the board to approve. So staff can start working on the projects we need for our HVAC systems.
Do I have a motion? Motion. Thank you, Mr. Chong. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have this item be moved to be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
The nominee motion passes 4-0. Approve the use of the South County Support Service Agency Pupil Transportation Equipment Bid number 1819-SC11-01 awarded to Creative Bus Sales to purchase an electric 42 passenger ICC ES school bus. It's recommended that the governing board approve the use of the South County Support Service Agency Pupil Transportation Equipment Bid. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, I just want to thank Sandy Pote. When she first got here, she had talked to our transportation staff about applying for this grant that her previous district had applied for, and she sort of led that charge. And so we're now at the point that we, with the board's approval tonight, we should have our first electric bus here sometime in August of 2023.
Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Ms. Shad. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Mons. Any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have this item be moved to be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Approve the use of Irvine Unified School District Furniture and Equipment Bid number 2021/22-3FA. It's recommended that the governing board approve the use of the Irvine Unified School District bid number 2021/22-3FA prior to purchase of furniture and equipment through Office and Ergonomic Solutions Incorporations. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, as you're well aware, we have kids here that are here for 9 hours a day. So this, we're looking for furniture, to refurbish our old furniture in our source classrooms. So the after-school programs will get a refresh. Sarah and I have been working through what those classrooms should look like, but we want them to feel a lot like our wellness rooms. Kids are gonna be spending 3, 4, 5 hours a day. Well, the 9 hours they told, right, after school and during the summer as well. So we're looking to upgrade those as soon as possible so that we put the order and we'll have them by next summer. Everybody's on back order now.
Thank you for that. Do I have a motion? Motion. Thank you, Mr. Trump. Do I have a second? Michelle, any discussion? No discussion, we'll have item be moved to be approved. All in favor? And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Discussion calendar, Dr. Miramontes.
I want to thank Russell Harrison, who took the lead with Dr. Cantu and Mrs. Pote, and our CSCA and BPTA leadership team that came together. And one late afternoon, provided a instructional calendar. That's a draft. I'm super excited because we typically put this out in February, March. We are way ahead of it. It aligns nicely with the high school district. I'll turn it over to Mr. Harrison.
Good evening, President Frutos, members of the governing board. I'd also like to extend my thanks to Carol Bright and Lori Cannon for bringing their perspectives and suggestions on behalf of their respective association members in both BPTA and CSCA. As a district that feeds into the Fullerton Joint Union High School District, and in an effort to maximize our students' attendance, I'm pleased to share that the calendar that our parties are recommending to you this evening aligns almost identically with the high schools. The only exception that you may notice is that they take 2 different planning days, whereas we have parent-teacher conference days. Both associations have also expressed interest in moving professional development days to the start of the calendar, which we hope will allow for behavioral intervention training and CPR first aid, hoping to set up for a safe school year from the very beginning. Are there any questions about this proposed instructional calendar. Dr. Cantu's team will later work on things like the trimester and quarter grading timelines.
So hearing no discussion, we will bring this forward for approval at our next board meeting. And it'll be nice because when we go out to start looking at next year, which starts in January, the permit season of the intra-district permit. And as parents start to plan their calendar, some parents plan a year in advance. Others plan 6 months in advance, right? But they'll have the calendar ready.
It'll be uploaded.
Or uploaded on the website, and through Parent Score, we'll make that note as well. Parents have that opportunity, so.
I might note that in the last 2 years, last year we moved it forward by a month from January to December on having the first meetings, and we moved it yet a month earlier this time. Again, reiterating what Dr. Miramontes was saying, allowing families and staff members to plan earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. The next one is Board Policy 4118, dismissal, suspension, disciplinary action. Mr. Harrison.
Thank you. In order to align our policies with the recommendations from CSBA, the first 4 board items here, 4118, 4119, 4219, and 4319, provide for the protection of student-free speech and also the employee's right to engage in private exercise of their own personal beliefs that do not infringe upon the rights of others. Thereafter, the next policy revisions for 4140 and 4240 ensure the freedom of employees to wear union buttons or clothing in favor or opposition to any matters related to negotiations. It also clarifies the timelines during which associations are allowed to have access to new employee orientation meetings and how the district makes employee information available to the associations. For personnel services, the final recommended change from CSBA is regarding a new standalone policy, which borrows much of its language from other policies and administrative regulations that are already in place in Buena Park. This language is timely in aligning with new guidelines that are required for the reduction in force of classified staff, which bring it far more in alignment with the types of processes that have already been in place March 15th, as we know about, that have been known by our certificated educators for decades. These are the board items related to personnel services, and are there any questions about any of them?
Thank you. Now we'll get into the next 3 that have to do that come from the Ed Services. Administering medication monitoring health condition presented by Dr. Simonowski.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Mike. Good evening, Board President Frutos, members of the governing board, Superintendent Dr. Miramontes, Executive Cabinet, guests here this evening. So we have this board policy up for discussion this evening. And just to give a little bit of background, due to the rising nature of the opioid epidemic, across the nation, in our great state of California, and even close to home in our own backyard here in Orange County. We've seen a recent surge in overdose cases in both adults and children under 18 years of age and younger. As a result, many school districts are now considering CSBA's board policy recommendations of naloxone HCI, or Narcan, as most of us refer to, which is used to aid students who are experiencing symptoms of life-threatening opioid overdose. And so as a part of our continued efforts, whether under governing policies, Good Samaritan laws, or just good old-fashioned best practices related to Health and Safety Code 1799.102, we are looking at this board policy to add the emergency medication for opioid overdose under this current board policy. So when available at a school site, the school nurse is, this is what it says in our education code, is that the school nurse shall provide emergency use or another opioid antagonist, for emergency medical aid to any person exhibiting potential life-threatening disease, life-threatening symptoms of an opioid overdose at school or at a school activity. So games, activities, events, things related to school activities. Other designated personnel who have volunteered and have received the training may administer the such medication when a school nurse or a physician. Our education code indicates that it would be a nurse, a physician, or a volunteer. Everyone else would work under that term volunteer in that umbrella. So our district has worked with the Orange County Healthcare Agency. We have our nurse here who's been in communication both with the healthcare agency, the California Department of Public Health, and we've also researched aggressively other Orange County districts, specifically sister districts. All right. Thank you, Mike. Who are also moving in this direction. So, all right, I'll flow with it. So the liability training and education. All right. I'll come here. So currently we do have a few districts in Orange County that have also recently updated the policies to reflect the addition of this medication for opioid overdose. Some of them are the larger districts, K-12, Capistrano, Laguna, and even some of the closer ones as LoSal are recently adopting the same policy as well that CSBA has provided. Yeah, so that concludes my discussion report item and summary for you.
I wanted to
Dr.
just
Ramos?
ask about that one.
Sure.
I know we're upgrading the policy, but I'd like to know maybe once we roll it out, basically know how many we're buying and which, who does it stay with? Because obviously when we have those games, like you said, the nurse isn't going to be there. So just who would the administrating it fall on? Just how we plan on rolling it out, basically, because we can have it as a policy, but then when it actually needs to happen, I'm sure there's a lot of steps that we need to do, the trainings, like you said, and all of that, just to see, because I've been going to a lot of the workshops that the county is holding about it. And I know there's a lot, that has to happen before we just kind of hand them over the NARCON.
To answer your question, yes, and yes. We've had conversations. I have a memo here from Dr. Simonovsky, and we started this conversation beginning of the school year. So I know Dr. Simonovsky's been listening to her group, and we have our lead nurse in the back here and her son. And you can hear back there that have also been hearing the same thing. So I want to make sure that I'm hearing what the superintendent's hearing. She hears the same thing. Dr. Ken too hears the same thing. And our nurse, Claire, our lead nurse also hears the same thing. And so we are trying to make sure that we have one clear message that aligns with the Orange County Department of Health, and most importantly, aligns with the California Department of Health, the Orange County Healthcare Agency. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of kind of like a three-prong approach: prevention, education, and then the administration of the Narcan when in use, and from different entities. So for example, currently our school resource officer has access to that. He's been trained on how to the administration should, in the event that we need to use that, he has access to that and he's been trained. But in regards to the education sector, us as the educators, or most of us outside of our nurses, would fall under that volunteer hat. CDPH has listed out as we may consider getting those extra Narcans, or in this case, it is a nasal spray. Nurse Claire actually requested one, and so we have one that's been provided to us. There's 10 steps on if we are going to use those, the way that we would use them, administer them. But in addition to that, in regards to the actual training, we'd work with HR, our different union organizations to determine who, what, and when the same way we would identify that for the AED machine and our CPR certification training. Those are lined out clearly for CSCA, who gets CPR training and things like that. So I would kind of lean on, HR to determine who those entities would be. The training is already provided on a module through CDPH. I believe it's a 30-minute training, give or take, Claire? If that provided. And again, the administration that most districts are using, if I could invite Claire to come up just to show what we would use in the event that this is something that gets passed. It's a nasal spray. And so come on up.
Sure. So this is what the nasal sprays look like. They're very easy to use. They're just placed in the nose and sprayed. That's all someone has to do. And you would ask about how many we would get. They come in minimum of 12 and each one is 2 doses. So there are 2 of these in a packet and then we would get a minimum of 12. Yeah, so they're used obviously for opioid overdose. Symptoms of that can be very, very slow or stopped breathing altogether, blue around the lips, unconscious or lack of responsiveness, or eyes rolling back or pinpoint pupils, any of those things. And so they can be given and they cause the receptors in the brain that catch the opioids to catch this instead. So that's how it blocks the reaction. You do need to call 911 because it will wear off and any opioids that are still in the system can then be absorbed. If someone is given this and that's not what their problem is, it's not going to cause an issue because all it does is block those receptors from picking up the fentanyl or whatever drug we're talking about. So it doesn't normally have negative side effects for someone who did not need it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for us or just turn it over to you, Dr. Ramones, for discussion?
We'll just keep the board informed. Once we pass this policy, we'll come up with a game plan of who definitely is going to be our cohort 1, cohort 2, and cohort 3. We even talked a bit, some link today about our bus drivers. Sometimes they're driving, they don't have an opportunity. They'll call 911 for sure. But again, it's just something we would have on the bus or not. So we have 12 of these, so it's a hard thing to plan for. But again, it goes back to education, prevention, and then the
Intervention.
intervention, right? So everything we can do to make sure our students are safe, I think is just a feather in our cap and be prepared for that.
Right. And then just to also add, when we think about the use of this in the event of an overdose, just the time that it takes for police or paramedics to respond versus us having it here on site could literally be life-saving, just like an AED machine. And thinking about who your target population of this phase 1, phase 2 individuals, you think about the environment. So AEDs typically coaches, right, are the ones that are trained because a lot of these incidents for them happen out in the football fields or out in, games and events. And so when we think about this, it could happen anywhere from the classroom to an outside event to the front office. So there's just a much wider net of who could be impacted where in the restroom. So a lot of these could definitely be sadly incidences that could take place on campus during school hours.
Does the state not intend on help buying these for all the school districts?
Oh, well. So they actually are provided by the state. There's a program called the Naloxone Distribution Project that goes through the Department of Healthcare Services. So they would come from there. Yeah, they're for free. I checked. And we already applied for and received the standing order so that if we are to go forward, we are able to start that process.
Thank you.
Any other discussion, questions or comments? Yes.
Comments. I'm really glad that we're doing this with our district. I went to a training at the sheriff's department last week from 9 to 12. But I learned how dangerous it is and how quickly a child can die from just a minuscule amount of fentanyl. And so irregular that it's hard to know how much you may have and what you think is a regular prescription. Kids say, oh, I have a headache, and then you find kids say, oh, I have something for that, type of thing. And it's not all the same. And you can just die
in just a few minutes. It's very deadly. So-
Dr. Sung, do you want to talk about the outreach?
Sure, absolutely. So we've been, as Dr. Miramontes was saying, we're just doing a lot of aggressive research, seeing what other districts are doing out here. We have reached out to Orange County Sheriff Department, who did a training recently out in Fullerton not too long ago. And so we do have a tentative date that we're confirming with Dr. Miramontes and Dr. Cantu of November 30th to provide a fentanyl drug awareness and opioid overdose training for our community. So we're just in the process of cementing that. We're just about ready to launch that information to our community, hopefully this week. And again, it's just another opportunity for us to be aware, going back to the prevention, education, and intervening when necessary. We always hope that that moment never happens, but in the event that it does, that we're ready to save the lives of our children.
And I'd rather our district be ready and prepared for, intervention, prevention, than having any effects of, of loss in our district. Nobody ever wants that, but we always want to play on the cautious side and play safe on it. So I appreciate, Claire and, team for getting those orders and having that ready to go. Once we pass all this, thank you for.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The next two will presented by Michelle Centeno, our Director of Administration. Centeno?
Thank you, Dr. Miramontes. Board policies are updated to reflect new laws, state orders, and the language of CSBA. Board Policy 514122, infectious disease policy updates include the expectation for district collaboration with local and state health officials to develop and regularly update a comprehensive plan for disease prevention that promotes preventative measures, mitigations, education, communication, and training of students and staff. In addition, all efforts to limit the spread of infectious diseases shall be non-discriminatory and promote equity. This policy also requires the superintendent to work with local and state health officials on any potential outbreak and to comply with federal and state privacy laws and confidentiality. Are there any questions on this board policy update? Okay. The next board policy is Board Policy 6164.2, Guidance Counseling Services. And this has been updated to reflect the new law, AB 2508/2022, which urges districts to adopt a comprehensive educational counseling program for districts that provide such services to implement a structured and coherent counseling program within a multi-tier system of support, or MTSS framework. The definition of educational counseling was revised along with amends to the responsibilities of school counselors. In addition, the policy has been updated to remove materials regarding early identification and intervention plans for students who may be at risk for violence. Any questions? Thank you.
And our last policy we're bringing forward is from Mr. Mike Magoo regarding the facilities management. Mr. Magoo?
This policy is just language to update and align with CSBA, so there's no real changes, just structure.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to consent calendar. Unless a trustee has a question concerning a particular item and asks to be withdrawn from the consent calendar, the items are approved at one time by the governing board. Mr. John? None. Shed? Nothing to remove. Simone? And I have nothing to remove. Do I have a motion? A motion. Okay, Mr. Trump, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Simone. Any discussion? No discussion. We'll have these items be moved to be approved. All in favor? Aye. And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Information and correspondence, Dr. Miramontes.
Yes, you've got two things there. The annual report for fiscal year 2021-22, 22 regarding the Williams settlement. The annual report summarizes the instructional materials as well as the site facility reviews at Pendleton and Whitaker schools that were completed during the 2021-22 school year. Both reviewers found no deficiencies in either school. And then the second piece there, Q1 report provides the results of the instructional material review at Buena Park Middle School on August 30th, 2022. The review determined sufficient textbooks and instructional materials were available to all students. The report also provides a result from the Buena Park Middle School site facility review conducted on September 21st, 2022, in which no deficiencies were found related to safety, cleanliness, and functionality. And then as far as major topics, two big things come up here. The first interim report from the Fiscal Services Department, and then the governing board reorganization. And an opportunity to welcome our newest member once the official guidance comes out from the Ocean of voters.
Share those updates, Dr. Miramontes. Moving on to closed session. Conferences with Dr. Ramon Miramontes, Superintendent of the Buena Park School District. Labor Relations, Buena Park Teachers Association Government Conference Code number 54957.6. Labor Relations, California School Employee Association, Chapter number 659. Government Conference Code number 54957.6. Labor Relations, Non-Represented Management and Confidential Contract Employees, Government Conference Code number 54957.6. Public Employee Discipline, Dismissal, Release. Do I have a motion to go into closed session? A motion. Thank you, Shed.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Mott. Any discussion? With no discussion, we'll have this be moved. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion passes 4-0. The governing board meeting is called to closed session at 7:04. And I sign off officially.
You still have to close it. You still have to close it. And you're gonna open up the next. There are still times to be had if he is president.
This was officially reconvene. Do I have a motion to reconvene?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chong. Shed. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Governing board meeting reconvene at 7:52. Reporting out of closed session, let the record reflect that no action was taken in closed session. Adjournment, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chong. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, motion passes 4-0. Governing board meeting adjourned at 7:53.